Nerd Skool is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network, powered by Ortho Carolina. Now offering video visits so you can take control of your orthopedic care from the comfort of your home. Schedule online at orthocarolina.com. Ortho Carolina, you improved.
Nerds roll. Oh, my glasses are broken.
Surprise me.
My pocket is protected.
Surprise me.
I am a super nerd.
Surprise me.
Okay.
Excelsior!
I am a super nerd.
The Nerd Skool Podcast.
Starring Andy.
I am a former entertainment journalist.
I am a super nerd.
TBJ.
Hi, this is Tiffany. You may hear me be referred to as TBJ.
TBJ, y'all.
I am what I like to call a surprise nerd.
Art Star.
My name is Art Star, and I am an artist.
Yo, my name is Joe, and I am the nerd student. The nerd pupil, if you will.
Heavenly shades of night are calling. It's twilight time. Out of the
Wanda and Vision. Aren't we a
I got some WandaVision questions. I just watched the 2 episodes. Did we all watch the 2 episodes on Disney Plus?
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
I kind of dig it. It's weird and different, and I didn't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm expecting more. I'm expecting it to change quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But the first one, I was like,
Yeah.
what the hell am I watching? Like, where's the action? So it feels like it's building to something, and I'm guessing it's like, just tell me this. Is this supposed to be between those 2 movies when they're off into oblivion or something, like when they all went to purgatory or whatever it was?
From what I've seen, this might end up being something that takes place in between the snapping. You know, like, I guess after like Vision dies. Like, first off, and you know,
Spoiler alert.
You know, Andy is considered to be the sensei of comic books in this thing. You know,
Right.
I'm the sensei of awesomeness. Andy's the sensei of comic books.
Oh, gosh.
But this will probably end up being something kind of around like the House of M kind of thing going on. Like WandaVision, by the time we get through with this, it might be a way for them to introduce mutants. But then they go back to the whole thing between the snapping, like just like the part where Thanos, spoiler, kills and this is in like, you know, Avengers Infinity War Endgame thing, but like when he kills Vision or crushes the stone in Vision's hand and Vision goes to black and white, or not black and white, but he fades away kind of thing. It's like maybe in that instance when you don't really see much of Wanda and whatever in the next one, maybe she creates this pocket world in her mind where all of this takes place. But then also there's another theory that maybe it has something to do with the introduction of Sword, and like, you know, someone's watching us and watching her, and then like then there's also what maybe this is Mojo has her, you know, there's people saying like maybe it's what's her name from Gemma from Age of S.H.I.E.L.D. So like it's so many different things coming out of what's going on, where did this take place? But then you also have the people saying like, oh, this is boring, like what is this sitcom stuff? And they don't get the small little like we got Captain Marvel stuff in this episode, in like the first 2 episodes. We got what's the dude name from that one show about that the Asian guy who can't Randall Wu? Is that his name? Randall Wu? Randall Park.
Randall Park is playing Jimmy Woo.
So you got things with him like Jimmy Woo, but it's like there's so many different things that's going on. Yeah, right. In these first 2 episodes, but people was expecting these hardcore big reveals, and it's a week-to-week thing. I mean, they blessed us with 2 episodes. They could have just given us 1 and say, hey, now you got to wait till next Friday. but they want this big reveal, and Marvel doesn't do that. Like, we're in what, phase 4? We about to start phase 4. Well, I guess technically this kind of starts phase 4. Marvel probably has something going on in each episode that's going to be way in phase 6. Like, somehow this is supposed to give us the multiverse and everything, but you're not going to get that in the first 2 episodes. You literally have to sit there like a slow grind with, with stuff that comes on week to week. It's a slow grind. Yeah. Like, we're so used to binge watching things now. It's hard for us. Yeah, it's hard for us to sit there and say, like, oh, yeah, okay. I feel like a lot of people hated season 2 of The Mandalorian because they got spoiled from season 1. And it's like, you gotta watch, like, you gotta look for, like, you literally supposed to be sitting and you watch it once, you watch it twice, just taking out little small bits and pieces of the cookie crumbs and just like, hey, make a whole cookie. But
I also think you have to think about where we are generationally. So I'm not looking for action right away. I think I've established I love a good storyline and I love a good character arc. And I do love getting some sneak peeks and some sounds of something else. But this is a 1950s TV style shoot to start with, which is really hard for a younger generation to grasp. Yeah. If you didn't grow up watching Leave It to Beaver, if you didn't grow up watching, Lucy, this is really foreign to you to see. And so I don't think that they want action necessarily right away. It's a foreign style of TV to a lot of people. So I think, because it took me a moment to get into the style.
Yeah, me too.
I watched Genie, but it was never my jam. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it was cute watching some of the throwbacks to the yesteryear of TV, meshing in with some Marvelness. But it took me a moment even to get a little more into it. Just because it's a style of TV that we haven't had on screens for, what was the last big show like that? It's been decades.
Yeah. It's I can, if you have questions about all the names Arthur dropped, I can probably help define our terms here.
Oh, he lost me completely.
My impression.
I just was excited. Yeah. It's exciting for me to watch the nerds, like just sinking your teeth into something new, and the excitement Arthur just had for that is so cool to see. Like, that's why I love nerds, because just that you said that they blessed you with 2 episodes, like, just using that terminology, like, you feel blessed by the Marvel gods. It's just funny.
I mean, because think about it. Think about it. Because of the pandemic, everything's been pushed so far back, and some of the things that have been coming out, New Mutants, haven't been as good. And sure, they're not necessarily in what we're watching right now, but some of these things, they seem rushed just for the sake of, like, the people demanded, the people wanted, we have to give it to them.
Yeah.
And they gave us 2 episodes, and people still weren't happy.
Yeah, that's right. So,
they were inspired. Kevin Feige said, the Mandalorian showed us we can go week to week. We don't have to drop everything at once and to everybody binge it and just churn it out. It's a way to, draw out the conversation about it. It's to keep it in the people's minds so it doesn't just get burned through real quickly. She can't be, because this is, to me, this feels like this is a slow burn. I don't think it's between the Thanos' snap and her coming back. Although when you mentioned Vision went to black and white when he died at the end in Infinity War, I was like, oh, that might be something. Maybe that's their into the black and white sitcom. But if it was between the snaps, Wanda is gone, so no one would be trying to contact her, as we kind of see in the we hear people breaking through.
That makes sense, Terry. But the whole, from what I've been hearing, the whole thing about Wanda is the way she was introduced is like most people just imagine, like, okay, here's this lady, she can do these things, and like she's always been quote unquote a witch kind of thing. But like Wanda, they never said, like, what exactly is she? So just because she, wasn't there, Wanda at this moment, to someone who may be into they're maybe just getting their nerd wings, could be like, wait a minute. If you think about it, Wanda Maximoff, she's a mutant. So it's like, while everyone else was like, you had your humans and like your manufactured heroes that were disappearing, how would that affect a mutant? Someone with the X gene. Sure, she may disappear, but did she really disappear? You know, even
Right,
let's
that's
go
true,
further.
but-
We have when they start introducing Fantastic Four, and then you have like Franklin Richards, like their kid, like this dude can bend reality. So like Wanda, her skill set kind of like she can do things like bend reality, create pocket worlds, pocket dimensions, and things. So like,
yeah, and that's what they're building to. I think that's what they're building to is. All we know is that she can lift stuff and shoot bolts and do some things, and it's very like even in Age of Ultron when she was introduced, like he's fast and she's weird.
And Endgame when they were like, where was she? Why was she up there?
Yeah, because the minute she left, they attacked and killed Vision, so that went after Vision, so it was a whole thing. But my thought is, we saw Infinity War. She has to go through the trauma of killing the person she loves, and it doesn't matter because Thanos just time gems it back and rips and kills him again. And that's a huge traumatic experience. And then the next time we see her at the end of Endgame, she is out of her mind. She's like, "You took everything from me," and was about to just straight up kill Thanos. She would have ended it right there if he didn't, decide to sacrifice half his troops and blow the shit out of things. So what I think is going on, this is my theory, is that this is like a slow burn way to kind of get some character work done. Like, that's one thing a series is able to do that movie doesn't have as much time to do, is character work. Like, get into who these people are and how they react and do things like that. And like sometimes in movies, they just have to jam it together to try to get it under 2.5 hours.
Well, and there's so many characters. You can only get to so many characters. You only got 45 Avengers. Like,
right. And these are two characters that have not had solo movies that are tend to be subplots in everyone else's movie. So this is the first time they get the chance to take center stage. So this is a time to look at them and see what their dynamic is, because they are major Avengers in the comic books.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think what this is some kind of delusion in Wanda's mind. Like, she's fractured, and this is like a way to look at what their happy ending could have been.
Agreed.
That they're not going to get because the Vision is dead. And they could rebuild him. They could always figure out a way around that because he's part robot, so they can do something there. But I feel like she's fractured, and we see at the end of the second episode, someone like that beekeeper guy or whatever tries to break through whatever that is, and I have a mild theory on that, but I don't.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, is that a villain?
And she immediately goes, it's either something new, or it's a reference to. The long shot is that it's a reference to a ridiculous character named the Swarm, who's made out of bees and is a villain and is a Nazi scientist, I think.
Yeah, I remember like seeing a comic of that or something, or as a guy made of bees.
Yeah, he was on like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, I think. It was an old cartoon where there's a guy made of bees.
Well, he's kind of
it's not going to be that guy. It's not going to be that thing. But I just wanted to mention it because it's crazy that there's a guy who's made of bees. And what's slightly more likely is in Iron Man 3, we were introduced to AIM, Advanced Idea Mechanics. And in the comic books, they all dress in like these yellow uniforms with these big square helmets, and everyone kind of jokes and calls them beekeepers because they look silly. So that's the first thing I thought of. But that doesn't mean it's going to be anything. That could also be nothing there. But what was I saying? I just wanted to make a point before we move on.
You were about to say how attractive Arthur looks right now with his fresh haircut.
Do not feed him any more
that goes without saying.
He is already off his rocker with.
It's amazing how when we're all talking about chocolate loveliness and giddiness, it's all like, oh, well, thank you guys. But as soon as something's thrown my way, it's like, don't feed him.
Because I don't grow a big head with compliments. I just say, what's right is what's right. What's great is great. I'm not out here with a big head. You are. I do want to say I agree with Andy, though. I was talking to my oldest about this, and I do think this is her mentally off, is what we're seeing. Something going on.
Yeah, we see at the end of the second episode, like that beekeeper shows up, and it feels like it's an intrusion into her manufactured reality, and she willfully pushes it. She says no, and then reverses everything and goes back into it.
Oh, so I think, okay.
It's a psychological break that she's suffering through. So this might be a world of her This might be her pocket world.
I think so.
I see.
That's what you're saying.
Well, the alarm
also be.
I would say the whole alarm.
But there's also
bit. Where it was
but
like
there's also
talking
the bit
to
at the end
her
of the first episode.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's the bit at the end of the first episode where it looks like she's being monitored and like she's being programmed.
Yeah.
So this could be some kind of that led some people to think that this is for some delusion from back when she was still under Baron Strucker's thumb. But
even when they do the whole like, who did this to you, Wanda? Like that still plays at the end of the second one, doesn't it? As it's going off, you hear like, who did this to you, Wanda? Something, right?
Yeah.
So she could either be.
I just thought that was someone breaking into her thoughts.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, it could be she's held captive. It could be she's in a delusion. It could be both. Like she's in a delusion and someone's trying to keep her from completely losing her mind, which is a big.
Right.
There was a big. The Scarlet Witch is really weird in the comics. She has a weird history. She's had a weird character arc, and this could go in so many different directions, however they want to do it.
I heard that somewhere, I forgot where, but that they have Evan Peters is supposed to be, has been casted by them to play some role in WandaVision.
Evan Peters played Quicksilver in the X-Men movies.
Right.
While Aaron Johnson, I think it was, played Quicksilver in the Marvel movies. And oddly enough, they both played characters. They played best friends in the Kick-Ass movie, which I thought was interesting that these two guys in this one comic book movie go and play the same character in two different comic book movies. But so that'd be hilarious if they could cast Evan Peters in some kind of role. I don't know.
But you don't think he'll be? You don't think he'll be Quicksilver?
Aaron Johnson was Quicksilver in the MCU.
In this one, so it wouldn't be the same Quicksilver.
WandaVision, like, it's going to eventually have something to do. They said something to do with the multiverse. So, like, I just like, and also, I guess Spider-Man 3 is going to Spider-Man 3 and then the new Doctor Strange movie. Like, they're going to be things from this series that supposedly directly involves those two movies. And like, Spider-Man 3 is supposed to have the other two. I'm doing air quotes to the people who can't see. The other two Spider-Man in that.
Your air quotes.
Andrew Garfield. I'm just like, this is an audio podcast. They can't see me doing air quotes.
Yeah.
The pauses for dramatic effect. Air quotes. Anyway, but the other Tobey Maguire, Andy Garfield. Andy. I'll call him Andy. So what, Andrew? But
is he your close personal friend, like Cheeto is to Joe?
Yeah, Don Cheeto, baby.
Right. But it's like, so that, he technically could be Quicksilver, but just be Quicksilver from a different dimension.
There's so many crazy possibilities when they're trying to merge the Fox stuff into this.
And this is totally random, but not necessarily random. It's also geek stuff. So I was watching the commercial for the Cartoon Network premiere Justice League, which I did end up watching again. And I was noticing the Flash, right? And it's like this. I felt like such a super comic book nerd in this moment. But like the TV show Flash, when he runs, and they just put like the lines behind him. You see him zipping everywhere, but he still runs. It's just a speed up run. When the movie Flash runs, it makes the production of it look like, wait, so on television, we can show him running sped up. But in a big budget movie, we have him running like he's on rollerblades, or like he's moving his hips side to side, and it's like he's not even running. It's almost like he's just doing this.
He's just
doing it. And I just watched this kids movie where this
where did this come from?
What's that lava? What's the lava girl and Shark Boy? The little sequel that they had, where there's the one kid whose father had super speed, but then he had whatever he got from his father, but he ran in slow motion. But he was powerful, but he just ran in slow motion.
What the fuck?
Are you talking about the We Are Heroes movie?
I don't think anybody knows what the hell we're talking about.
I watched that yesterday.
Right. Yeah. So what I'm just understanding how the Flash and the DCEU runs like the kid from We Are Heroes, yet he's supposed to be a speedster when the Flash on the CW runs like a speedster. This Flash, I was telling him, runs like he's on rollerblades. Like, he's the Flash. Why is he running like he's on rollerblades? They cannot do anything better than make him look like he's on rollerblades?
Hey, we don't know what their budget was.
We don't know what their budget was.
Apparently not, Mr. Snyder.
Yeah. Well, Zack Snyder's a whole other thing, but I was always curious. Like with speedsters like that, they can run really fast, but they're still running the entire time. They're running as far as a person can run, and like with the Flash, he's so fast that he can run around the world. There's a big episode of the old Justice League, the DCAU, where the DC animated universe, where the Flash runs around the world so fast he smashes the superpowered Brainiac Lex Luthor combination. Like boom, he's there. He can turn it on, but he still has to run. He still has to take every little step. So how do they not get tired?
I don't know why we're talking about this.
Well, Quicksilver is a speedster.
The most tangibly
I get it.
That ever existed.
Yes. Oh no, I get that.
Quicksilver, Flash.
I get it.
Quicksilver,
Flash.
Okay. That's okay. I thought it just came out of nowhere, but that makes sense. But a little bit back to WandaVision for a second. Was this?
Yeah.
Is this directed and written the whole series by the same person, or is each episode directed by a different person?
That I don't know.
Have any idea? Does anybody pay attention to
I'll
that?
have to look up the credits. I mean, I'm sure there's with TV shows, there's generally like a showrunner, and then who kind of controls the overarching of it, and then there's individual episodes being directed by individual people.
So I mean, regardless, there's nothing out there that's like, oh, this is obviously directed by so and so. Like, there's nothing like that. That's like, oh, it's a Jon Favreau joint. Or whatever.
Oh, it's a Rob Liefeld cut or something. Yeah.
Double check. It is directed by the same person. The 9 episodes that they've recorded is directed by the same person, but the writer's room looks pretty stacked with individuals. It looks like there's like 2 main writers, and then 3 other writers rotate in and out through different episodes.
Okay,
that's interesting.
And I'd have to look up to see if I recognize any names, but my thought is, so like she's probably in some kind of delusion that people are trying to break through. I don't think she's snapped and gone, because then no one would know she's there to do that.
Right.
There could be, but the main issue that I think is going to spawn this multiverse is the fact that Thanos destroyed the Infinity Gems in Endgame, and we learned in later in Endgame that the Infinity Gems are the only things that keep the timeline from branching off into a shit ton of multiverses, and that with those gone, all those threads start opening. Like, the Ancient One said, that if you don't bring this back to me, this thing happens and everything sucks. So I think there's a whole lot of tendrils there.
Yeah, I really love this idea that they introduced, I guess, with the Spider-Verse. I guess that was the first time they did, where there's all these dimensions and things. I mean, maybe they already did it with Thanos or whatever, but I feel like that fits the comic book world so well. In that comic book world, superheroes start over every 5 years. It's all over again. It's a great way to explain that and still be part of the same universe if they want it to be.
It's also a great way to explore characters in ways you don't normally see them.
Yeah.
I think this I can get the frustration if people are not into watching. Like, they committed to 2 episodes of a 50s and 60s sitcom, And if you don't want to watch, if you're looking for a Marvel movie and you get old sitcoms,
you think it's
I
only
can see where some people are like,
you think it's only going to be
but
2 episodes?
It's a slow burn. It's going to unravel. And like the next one, they're in color, and they'll probably be in the 70s.
You don't think
the
whole
No, we know the whole thing isn't a 50s sitcom.
Oh, it's not. Okay. Oh, I didn't know if we knew that or not. I was like, is this?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the trailer for the show, you can see that they're different.
Yeah,
well,
they do pictures.
Well, they turned into color in the last one, but it still seemed like. Oh, so maybe they go to the 70s.
I think they're gonna like the first is the 50s, then it's the 60s, and then the colors in the 70s, and then eventually, like with some of the clips we've seen, like I think they're gonna do specific sitcom style parodies too.
So
like there's
Alf,
like a modern family
Alf
version.
might show up.
Alf could easily show up.
Alf and Mrs. Achmonic.
There were Alf comic books, I think. But But the House of M thing that Art dropped was, I think, what they'll probably borrow from, which was this comic book story where Wanda kind of lost her mind because I don't even know if we need to get into the because she magically created, like, she couldn't have kids with the Vision. They were married.
Yeah.
So she just sort of somehow magically created children anyway. And it was a mystery of how they were created. But, oh, I have twins now. I have twin boys.
Yeah.
Because Wanda's history is so weird. She was... Yeah. Like, originally she was introduced as just like a mutant, part of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, which was... Because she was supposed to be... She wasn't originally Magneto's daughter, but then Magneto found out that she and Quicksilver were his kids.
Oh, yeah,
which he wasn't aware of until they were grown, and so like he sort of recruited them and manipulated them, and then and her power was just hex bolts, which was just she could affect the probabilities of things. Like, it's very unlikely that ladder is going to fall on your head right now. But I can do this, and then that ladder will suddenly start to shake and fall on you and hit you in the head. It's just weird, like, she could, like, you might not break your ankle if you make that jump, but I can do that, and then when you land, you're going to break your ankle. It's
probability.
It was just, like, very vague and weird. Okay. And they eventually built on that to the point where they sort of expanded it and said, all right, you're not actually just affecting probability fields, you're channeling chaos magic. When she eventually started to like learn about herself, and this is who Catherine Hahn is playing, I believe. That her mentor is a witch character named Agatha Harkness in the comics, and Catherine Hahn is playing their neighbor Agnes in WandaVision. So I think there's a good chance that she's going to be Agatha Harkness, Wanda's magical mentor.
Now, is this the funny one? Is that the funny one with the dark hair or the blonde?
The one with the dark hair.
Oh yeah, the next door, the funny one who brought over the rabbit.
Not the one that was being mean. Yeah. The one who keeps saying, "Oh, my husband Ralph, whoa, what a jerk."
Yeah, yeah. I love that.
You can have him.
I love that bit. Yeah,
I've got a volunteer for you. Yeah. My husband Ralph.
Yeah, I love that actor. She's from several things, I'm sure. But
Catherine Hahn, she's from a lot of stuff. We've seen her in a lot of stuff. She's a great
funny
comic actress.
She's so funny. Yeah.
She's hilarious.
So
and there's.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I could go on for a while, but then eventually, like, as she was exploring this chaos magic, which was what she was channeling, eventually something happened where I'm a little hazy at this part, but she found out that like her kids suddenly vanished because they weren't real in the first place.
Right.
And that broke her mind. The Vision had died for some reason, and maybe had come back without a memory. I don't know what it was. But she kind of lost herself and was swimming in all this power. The more power she learned, the bigger it was, to the point where she can like manipulate reality itself.
Okay.
So she is like a Class A powerful super mutant that we're learning about. And she created this alternate reality called the House of M, where like mutants were in charge of everything, and because in Marvel comics they never are, because they're always persecuted.
Yeah.
In this, like, they won, they're in charge, they rule everything, and everything still kind of crumbled and sucked because, mutants are still people.
Crumbled and sucked.
So she, yeah. And so she eventually, said, broke her mind. She said, no more mutants, and then erased most of the X-Men from existence for a while. Like, it was an X-Men genocide, almost.
In the House of M?
Like a big villain that way.
This was
at the end of the House of M stories, she wiped out all the X-Men.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting if they reverse that and use her to bring in all the X-Men, saying, like, we need more powered people in the world who have these powers. We need to share this power. So more mutants should happen. Maybe that would be a clever way to invert the comic.
Okay, House of M questions real quick. So House of M was a comic book series?
And it was a miniseries. It was an event book.
When you advanced book, did you say
event?
Book. Event.
It's what it was basically like the Marvel and DC tend to have events. For a while, they did it almost every year. Like every summer, what's the new big blockbuster event that's going to happen?
Okay,
that everyone crosses over and has to get involved with. House of M was one of them, which was basically all the comic books became House of M books for like a few months.
Wait a minute. All the different, so there would be a Spider-Man House of M, a Captain America House of M, or just House of M was a series instead of those. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, you'd have like House of M. It'd be like House of M, but it'd still be Spider-Man's book. But it'll be like House of M. So pretty much like what's going on in the house. Like you wouldn't necessarily have to read that book, but like you would have backstory. So like if you're just reading Spider-Man's book, you know what's going on in the House of M event because it would directly affect things going on in the Spider-Man book and the Hulk's book and the X-Men's book. Then they might even create another book, like a mini series or a limited edition series, based like House of M Mysteries of
It's like this big
somebody's world #1.
Yeah, here's our huge event. It's like a 6-issue miniseries, and then we'll have all these tie-in issues in all of our other books to try to pick up sales. Like, here's this big thing we're promoting, tie it in with all of our other books to try to get more people to read the other books.
So
each one will have a story that.
Let me see if I understand this. So the main there's like a house, like it would just be like, say June 1st we released whatever the House of M books. And there's like 6 books that have all kinds of characters, but also, if you're already a Spider-Man subscriber, that ties in, and then maybe you'll buy your Scarlett Witch one. Also, is that right?
Did you understand Did you understand Into the Spider-Verse?
Yeah, I think. I don't know.
So just think of that.
I like it.
You have the 616.
Yeah.
You have the Marvel 616, but then you have these other. Like, not even that. Just think of a spider web. A spider web. You have the web. You have the center. And then from the center, you have all these different threads.
Yeah, I get how that works.
Off.
But what I'm asking about is like the actual books at the store. Like,
yeah, they will release a book. Like, if it's a 6-issue miniseries, like here's issue 1.
Yeah.
And then boom, everyone gets that and says, "Oh, this is the new premise. This is what they're doing with." And then like all the books of that week and the next week, not all of them, but a lot of the books of the next weeks deal with like, all right, here's the big event that happened. How does the Hulk tie into this? How does Moon Knight tie into this?
So when you go to the store, when you guys, Art, Andy, and TBJ walk into the comic shop that week, that summer that this happened or whatever, you guys were, if you were into it and you liked this whole thing, some of your characters that you already read, like it. I'm assuming people go and they're
like right.
You're a subscriber to your own people, right?
This because it was not my jam, so I yield the floor.
Okay,
to the
so Art, but when Art, like
right
you
now,
go, just let me understand. Like when you go to the comic shop, Art, like you're a Captain America guy and a Daredevil guy and an X-Men guy. I'm just using an example. I don't know. And so each week you go, and those are the comics you automatically buy, and then you might buy something else if you like it, depending on your budget and how old you're, whatever. Mm-hmm. So you go on this particular Tuesday, it's comic book day, or was it Wednesday? I can't remember. You guys yelled at me.
Wednesday.
Wednesday. comic book day. You walk in, and so this day, and say your 3 characters happen to tie into this, so you're going to buy the Captain America issue with the House of M tie-in. You're going to buy your Daredevil and whoever the other one I said, and then you're also going to buy a House of M issue on its own, like its own. Or am I wrong?
Here's the thing. You can, but if you like, it's one of those things. Like, let's say if I do buy those 3 books, the way that the story, the writers write the books, and then how it reference things that's going on, it'll have like footnotes saying, see House of M #3 for whatever. It'll make you sit there like, wow. I may have to pick this issue up.
Yeah.
So
it's
I
selling
can see what's going on.
It's a marketing ploy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely like here's the big public event to get attention.
We established that industry tends to come together.
Yeah.
Like Andy talked about this in episode 1 or 2, how it's like, this big thing is coming. We're going to write specifically for this big thing.
Yeah.
It gets looped in.
And so there's like, it seems like the same, it seems to me like a parallel sort of coordination that they're doing in the MCU. Like, you know, we've talked about how they're making these movies, but they're planning ahead for like, okay, Avengers comes out in 4 years, but we're going to put these little things. It seems like these kind of House of M's things, or whatever you call these series, is the similar type of thing, right? They have to coordinate all these writers and teams.
Yeah. Marvel actually does a thing, Marvel Comics, they do a thing, they call it the Marvel Retreat, where they just get all their big writers together and they go take like a weekend somewhere. They go, I don't know where they go. They go on, like, they maybe there's a Camp David for it, I don't know. But they all go
and they just hang out
together and bust out the next years of stories, like, or they break the stories like any sitcom writers room, like any TV show writers room. Like, all right, this is what we're going to do this year. This is how we're going to plan it. This is how we'll tie in. And I have an angle here. What if the Hulk does this? It's like, I didn't think of that. That's great. Then they all collaborate together and kind of
that's
create the overarching stories for the next year or 3, depending on how far in advance they want to plan.
Now, Andy,
so that's a regular thing.
In your old job, when you were a Marvel or a comic book writer guy or blogger or whatever the hell you were, did you get invited to things like that to like sit in and listen, or are those like top secret?
No. Those are more like creative meetings. Those aren't press meetings. That's
and
just
you know that because they talk about it.
Yeah, sometimes a lot of them have mentioned, we came up with that on the Marvel Retreat. Like, we'll interview people later about it, and they'll say, oh yeah, we came up with this. I was sitting down with Dan Slott or whoever, and we talked about this, and we had these ideas. Oh, this was actually his idea. He brought that up at the Marvel Retreat.
The Marvel Retreat. Do you think there's like drugs and stuff there? Like they're doing a bunch of coke and stuff and.
I don't know. These are probably
at the retreat stays at the retreat.
Yeah, TPJ bringing it in. What happens at the retreat? All right. Yeah. Anybody have anything left to say about WandaVision before we jump into Thor?
I would like to just make everyone aware of the fact that Wanda was in the comic books. She was orphaned, basically, like, because she didn't know Magneto was her father, and her mother, I think, died, and Magneto thought she had died in childbirth with the kids, so he didn't know, I think, that he had kids. But the 2 kids survived and were raised in the Wundagore Mountains, and their nanny was basically a humanoid cow person.
Cow person?
A humanoid cow person named Bova. And so, if you look at the animated, the second episode animated opening credits, there is a reference to her.
Really? Sheesh.
Like she's shopping in the supermarket, and there's like a Bova brand milk carton or something like that. That's the deep cut. Yeah.
Wow. So they're gonna.
I just wanted to say humanoid cow person.
You think
that's? I can't answer any more questions about it because I don't know any more than it's a humanoid cow person named Bova in this Mountains of Wundagore that I believe was run by a character named the High Evolutionary, who also could be introduced as somehow the mastermind behind all this, because he's this weird, mad scientist, intergalactic dude who... the sword, which Art mentioned...
What?
There's the sword logo that's been seen, like in the first part when he's like you cut to the screen and she's being monitored, and there's like a little sword logo on their notepad.
Yeah.
Sword is the intergalactic offshoot of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like S.H.I.E.L.D. deals with Earth stuff, Sword deals with space stuff.
Okay. Yeah, there was a sword on that airplane, wasn't there? That colored airplane.
The helicopter, maybe.
The helicopter.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, yeah.
So that's why there could be some alien space shit involved as opposed to just ultra-dimensional stuff. Or it could be a combination of both.
Basically, stick around. This shit's going to get amazing.
Yes. And
it's going to get weirder before it gets better.
That's all you need, Joe.
And if Disney Plus wants to sponsor this episode, I think I'm just going to go ahead and put this out this week since we're talking about the first 2 episodes of WandaVision. I think
bonus episode, yeah.
Yeah, if I can edit this week and just be like a bonus, I think that's worth doing, just like to know so people can have it along with what's happening.
Yeah.
And
I like having bonus episodes throughout while we're talking, since stuff is still happening real time.
Yeah, because we're discovering it. That way we're discovering it with people, and because this probably won't make any sense 4 months from now when we're way past and we already know everything. It might be like, oh, that's why we do it. So, and I really hope Bova shows up. I was going to say, I hope Bova shows up because I will know who that is. I'll say, that's Bova. That's a cow person. That's her mom.
I really don't think she'll show up.
WandaVision has started, I guess, like the beginning of like phase 4.
Okay.
And like pretty much they've said for the rest of the year, we're going to have Marvel goodiness. Like, even like after, like I think we mentioned this last time. Like we're going to get Winter Soldier and the Falcon. We're going to get Loki.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get, Marvel movies coming. So it's one of those things where it's like, while we are mainly focusing on chronologically talking about the MCU.
Yeah.
There are things going to pop up where, we're going to be talking about what's going on, when it happens. It's not like we do this every day. So it's like, every week something new is going to happen. Where, like, let's say if it's 2 weeks from now, when our next one comes out or something, like a whole lot of shit have to happen in between those 2 weeks. So
and nerds like to talk about
like different, like Tiffany says, one of those things where like it's okay to have bonus episodes in there because.
And you guys never have to like try to get the conversation going. More than anything, it's like, can we breathe?
We need like buzzers, but like not like sort of like buzzers that, not to say that we're dogs, but like buzzers that kind of act like dog with.
Oh, I was thinking like a game show.
You press it and it'd be like Tiff wants to speak. And you hear in your ear, Tiff wants to speak, Well,
I think. Well, maybe we need to go back to Zoom because you can raise your hand and stuff on there. You probably can do it here somewhere, but and if we ever get back to in the studio, we'll be able to.
In studio, right?
Yeah. So there is a little bit of a delay. So okay, that was the episode on WandaVision. We'll be back soon with Back to the MCU. Thank you for listening. Peace out, everybody. Excelsior. And all that.
No.
No Excelsior?
No.
I want y'all to pay attention. I have to yet say it every time you 3 end it.
Yeah,
I'm always
say
going,
no.
Why are you adverse to saying Excelsior?
I'm just not. I'm not. I just say no. This is my stance.
Force is strong with you.
And the positive force, yes, the light is strong. This is my stance. And I have just decided it's a no for me, dog.
It's a no for me.
Later day.
Nerds roll.
My glasses are broken.
Surprise me.
My pocket is protected.
Surprise me.
I am a super nerd.
Surprise me.
Tiff loves Batman.
Okay.
Excelsior!
I am a super nerd.
The Nerd Skool Podcast.